The coup attempt seemed successful. The palace had been seized, the president was captured, the French supporters were ready. But there was one thing the plotters didn't account for: Ibrahim Traoré's ability to inspire a nation even from behind bars. The initial shots rang out at exactly 3:14 a.m. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso was still at his desk when the gunfire broke the silence. He'd stayed up late, buried in paperwork inside his unassuming office within the presidential compound. The documents in front of him were mining contracts, proposals from foreign corporations eager to continue exploiting the country's rich gold reserves. These were the same deals he had been steadily dismantling in order to restore control of national resources to the people of Burkina Faso. The gunfire outside was sharp and disciplined, controlled bursts from automatic rifles. Within moments, his security chief, Captain Rao, burst through the door. "Mr. President, we're under attack. The palace perimeter has been breached." Traoré remained composed, as though he had anticipated this very moment. Truth be told, he had. Intelligence had been warning for weeks about unrest within certain military divisions, especially those with long-standing allegiances to France. "How many?" Traoré asked. "Initial count, 40 to 50 men, sir. Wearing our uniforms, but—" Rao trailed off. "But they're not ours," Traoré completed the sentence, already certain. "3rd Battalion?" "Yes, sir. Colonel Zongo seems to be leading them." A shadow passed over Traoré's face. Colonel Pierre Zongo had once been a peer of his back at the military academy. A brilliant strategist, yes, but far too easily seduced by Western influence and promises of wealth. "Evacuation route?" Traoré inquired, already expecting bad news. "Compromised, sir. They moved quicker than expected. The Presidential Guard is holding position at the south gate, but we're outnumbered." Traoré rose from his chair, adjusting the plain military uniform he always wore. No medals, no excessive insignia. It was a statement against the vanity of former leaders. "Then we're not evacuating," he said steadily. "We don't sacrifice Burkinabe lives for one man, even if that man is the president." Captain Rao looked visibly shaken. "Sir, with all due respect, you can't surrender. If they take you—" "If they take me," Traoré interjected firmly, "then we fight a different kind of war, not one with guns, but with conviction and words." He glanced at his watch. "Activate Protocol Sierra. You know what that means." Rao stood upright in response. Protocol Sierra was no ordinary safety plan. It was a national contingency. Traoré had designed it months ago, not to protect himself, but to preserve the sovereignty of the country in the event of his capture or assassination. "It'll be done, Mr. President." The sound of combat drew closer. Yells, more gunfire, and the heavy bang of stun grenades. "Go now," Traoré ordered. "That's a direct command." Rao hesitated for just a moment before saluting sharply and vanishing through a hidden passage behind the bookcase, which led to a system of secret escape tunnels. Traoré switched off his audio recorder and tucked it smoothly into his jacket pocket. He remained seated, exuding a calm dominance that seemed to rattle the soldiers entering the room. "What exactly are the charges, Pierre?" he asked coolly, using Zongo's first name on purpose. "Is it now criminal to ensure that Burkina Faso's gold benefits its citizens rather than greedy outsiders?" Zongo's jaw tightened. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. Cooperate now and you'll be treated with dignity." Traoré stood slowly, his hands clearly visible. "I don't fear death, Pierre. I've seen it too many times to be afraid now. But ask yourself, who really gains from this tonight? Is it the Burkinabe people, or is it those who once called us Upper Volta, who've been desperate to seize our land and riches again?" For a brief second, Zongo looked unsure. It passed quickly. "You'll have plenty of time for speeches later. Now move." As the soldiers encircled him, Traoré noticed something unusual. None of them would meet his eyes. Perhaps it was shame. These were Burkina soldiers, after all, men sworn to protect their homeland, now standing against the very president they had once supported. They marched him through corridors marred by conflict, chairs overturned, bullet holes in the walls, blood splattered on the floor. Traoré's heart sank as he saw the evidence of loyal guards who had clearly laid down their lives defending him. "How many casualties?" he asked softly. 12 of your men, Zongo replied, his tone flat. 4 of mine. 16 sons of Burkina, Traoré murmured quietly. 16 families who will mourn tonight, all because of foreign greed for gold. One of the young soldiers flanking him winced at the weight of those words. They led him to a fortified room located in the east wing of the palace, a secure bunker ironically designed to protect the president in times of attack, now functioning as his cell. The space had no windows, just a single heavy-duty door and the bare essentials: a cot, a toilet, and a sink. "You'll stay here until the official announcement is made in the morning," Zongo said flatly. "Use the time to draft a resignation speech. It'll make things easier for everyone." "And if I decline?" Traoré asked, meeting his former classmate's eyes. Zongo's face turned steely. "Then we make a different kind of announcement." Once the metal door slammed shut and their footsteps faded, Traoré calmly examined the room. It was designed to resist outside assault, not to imprison someone from within. But without tools, the reinforced door was unbreakable. He checked his watch. 4:27 a.m. The military phase of the coup had moved quickly, as such operations often do. What followed now would be the political chess game, consolidating control, seeking validation from foreign powers, and trying to appear legitimate to the people. Sitting down on the edge of the bed, Traoré closed his eyes, not to rest, but to think. Escaping was nearly impossible, but he wasn't focused on breaking free. He was already thinking of how to transform captivity into influence, to turn the momentum in his favor. He knew in his gut that this coup didn't originate solely from internal military unrest. There were foreign hands manipulating events from behind the curtain. Later, one of the young guards re-entered. Traoré addressed him casually. "You've been to Sabse recently, haven't you?" "Yes, sir," the soldier said, caught off guard. "We inaugurated a school and clinic there just 3 months ago, funded by proceeds from the Bissa gold mine." Traoré nodded, his tone even. "That same mine, bled dry for decades by foreign corporations, only ever gave us a pittance, 3% royalties, while they grew rich." The soldier looked uneasy. "I should be going, sir." "Of course," Traoré said, then paused. "What's your name, Private?" "Private Salam Wedo, sir." "Tell me, Wedo, has Colonel Zongo explained what happens once I'm removed?" The young man hesitated, then answered. "He said there'll be elections, eventually, that things will get better." Traoré gave a slow, thoughtful nod. "And have you heard any voices around the compound that don't sound local? French accents, perhaps?" Wedo stiffened slightly, a small but telling reaction. "I must go now, sir." As the guard exited, Traoré allowed himself the faintest smile. That reaction confirmed what he suspected. French operatives were already embedded, orchestrating the coup from the shadows. At precisely 10 a.m., the door opened again. This time Zongo stepped in, flanked by 2 armed guards. "It's time. The national broadcast is set for noon. You will read this." He handed Traoré a typed statement. Traoré skimmed through it, an official resignation citing health reasons, pledging a smooth transition to a military council, and vaguely promising the return of constitutional order in due course. "And if I refuse again?" Traoré asked, eyes still on the paper. Zongo's reply was icy. Then we release documents alleging corruption, claims that you hold accounts in Dubai full of Chinese mining bribes. At that, Traoré chuckled aloud. Forged papers? I've never taken a single franc outside my salary. Zongo shrugged indifferently. The truth doesn't matter. Only what people believe. You're wrong, Pierre, Traoré said, his voice firm but calm. The truth always matters. It may be delayed, hidden, even buried, but it finds a way back, like water cutting through rock. Zongo looked unsettled. Without replying, he gave the final warning. You have 2 hours to decide. Make the right choice. When they left, Traoré quietly tore the printed resignation into tiny shreds, flushed them down the toilet, and retrieved the digital recorder still hidden in his jacket pocket. A sign of how rushed and sloppy the coup had been. He pressed record. This supplemental message is being logged at approximately 10:15 a.m. Colonel Zongo's behavior confirms foreign interference, specifically French. They aim to force me into a fake resignation. I refuse. The people of Burkina Faso deserve to know who truly seeks to dominate them and plunder their resources. At exactly noon, they escorted Traoré to the media room, once a platform for presidential announcements, now hijacked for propaganda. The camera was ready. Microphones were set up, off to the side. As Traoré entered the palace's media room, he spotted a white man in civilian attire, clearly foreign, quietly issuing instructions in English tinged with a French accent. Their eyes locked for a brief second before the man quickly turned away. Sit here, a voice instructed curtly. Traoré took his place and stared into the camera, gaze steady and unwavering. People of Burkina Faso, he began, I do not speak to you today from the freedom of the presidential office, but from captivity within our own palace. He paused only briefly before continuing. At around 3 a.m. last night, a faction of our military, led by Colonel Pierre Zongo and influenced by foreign actors, attempted a coup d'etat. Cut the feed! Shut it down now! Zongo barked from behind the camera. But the technician didn't move, paralyzed by the moment. Traoré kept speaking, voice calm and authoritative. I am being held prisoner and was ordered to deliver a false resignation. I have refused. The soldiers involved are not our enemies. They are our brothers, misled and manipulated. Across the room, the foreign advisor began shouting frantically. Still, no one made a move to interrupt the live feed. Right now, Traoré declared, documents are being distributed to media outlets across Burkina Faso and the entire continent, evidence that foreign mining conglomerates and intelligence agencies orchestrated this coup. Their goal is simple, to dismantle our fight for resource sovereignty and return control of our gold to foreign shareholders. Colonel Zongo glanced at his phone in growing dread. His screen lit up with non-stop alerts, calls, messages, and breaking news headlines. The truth was already out. To the soldiers involved, Traoré continued, ask yourselves, who among your commanders recently received wire transfers from foreign banks? Why did French military advisors arrive in secret just 3 days ago? One of the guards lowered his weapon slightly, uncertainty settling in. To our friends in the international community who believe in true sovereignty, this is the time to stand with Burkina Faso. And to those foreign powers who still believe Africa is theirs to exploit, who think they can remove and install leaders like chess pieces, your era is over. Suddenly, the studio doors swung open. Captain Ouedraogo marched in with troops bearing the 1st Battalion insignia, soldiers loyal to Traoré. The palace is secured, Mr. President, Ouedraogo announced. The 1st and 4th Battalion stand with the constitutional government. The 2 guards at Traoré's sides hesitated, then glanced nervously at Zongo, who stood frozen, still staring at his phone. The choice is yours, Colonel, Traoré said, standing tall. Continue this doomed coup and face treason charges, or help reveal the real conspirators and salvage your honor." The room went silent. For several long seconds, no one moved. Finally, with a slow, defeated gesture, Zongo placed his pistol on the table. "How?" he asked quietly. "How did you shut this down so fast?" Traoré's expression remained calm. "Protocol Sierra. It was designed for exactly this situation. The moment Captain Ouedraogo escaped the compound." He paused, then added with firm intensity, "In the coming days, I will bring forward undeniable proof of foreign interference, to the African Union, to the United Nations, and most importantly, to you, the people of Burkina Faso. The age of resource colonialism is over. Africa's wealth must serve Africans." The live broadcast continued for several more minutes as Traoré laid out a roadmap for unity and restoration. When the camera finally turned off, he turned to Captain Ouedraogo. "Casualties?" he asked. "Minimal, sir. Once the truth about foreign involvement spread, most of the 3rd Battalion stood down. They weren't traitors. They were misled." Traoré nodded in approval. "And the French delegation?" "The airport is secure. Their private jet is grounded. We're holding them respectfully until the investigation concludes." Over the following hours, the full truth came to light. The coup was engineered by French intelligence in collaboration with mining corporations who had lost billions when Traoré nationalized Burkina Faso's gold reserves. Zongo and a handful of officers had been promised power and wealth. But they hadn't planned for Protocol Sierra. Traoré's fail-safe plan built on real-time release of damning evidence to loyal commanders, civil leaders, and journalists across the continent. By 7 p.m., just 16 hours after the coup began, Ibrahim Traoré stepped onto the palace balcony to a crowd of thousands. The people filled every inch of the square, waving Burkinabe flags and homemade signs that read, "No to foreign interference," and "Our gold, our future." "Today," Traoré addressed them, "Burkina Faso was tested, and we emerged stronger. This isn't my victory, it's yours. When our soldiers saw the truth, they chose the nation over conspiracy." The crowd erupted in applause. "Those involved in this coup will be held accountable," he added. "But those who were simply following orders, believing they served the people, they will be shown mercy. However, those who knowingly betrayed our sovereignty to foreign powers will be tried for treason." As Traoré spoke, he noticed Zongo being quietly escorted to a vehicle, head bowed. Near him, a Malian diplomat leaned in. "We come with a proposal," he said, "a mutual defense and resource sovereignty pact between our nations. Together we stand stronger against those who seek to divide and control us." For the first time all day, Traoré smiled genuinely. "From crisis comes opportunity. Let's begin drafting that pact immediately." As discussions stretched into the early morning, a new alliance began to form, one based not on foreign favor, but on independence, solidarity, and mutual respect. What was meant to be a swift and silent coup had sparked something far more powerful, a renewed movement for African resource justice. In 26 hours of captivity, Traoré hadn't just defended his presidency, he had awakened a continent. He entered that cell as the leader of one threatened nation. He emerged a symbol of resistance against the centuries-long pattern of exploitation that siphoned Africa's wealth abroad while its people remained poor. As dawn broke over Ouagadougou, citizens were once again flooding the square, not summoned but compelled by a shared purpose. In markets and homes, over radios and smartphones, one truth echoed louder than ever. What belongs to Africa must serve Africans first. The time of taking has ended. The time of reclaiming has begun.